What episode is this? I know we're in double digits.
It's 12, I think.
Okay. All right. Here we go. You think?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. I'll use that. That's fine. Okay. Welcome along to episode 12-ish.
It is 12. I just checked.
It's been
We
confirmed.
had to check.
Episode 12 of Sweet Tea and Coffee. We've got a guest today. We know that you guys like a whole lot more when we have guests on because
I had a conversation with someone today told me their favorite episodes are the episodes with guests. So I didn't know how to take that.
Yeah.
You and I are just boring.
Yeah, what are they saying about us?
It's like, well, skip next episode.
So we have a guest for you today, friends. So just sit tight. We've got one of our elders. So a guy that's on our leadership team here at Fredonia Hill. And his name is Brinn Williford. And Brinn is a man of many hobbies and interests that I find interesting. So we're going to start the show by diving into some of those and then just chat through Brinn's life and what's got him to this point and whatever else we get into. He's just come off a day at school.
So he's energized and ready to go.
He's super energized, and it's dinner time. And so he's ready to go. All right, stick around. We've got Brinn. All right. Well, as I said, we've got Brinn Williford in here with us, and Brinn has got. The more that I get to know Brinn, the more that I discover he's got some cool interests and all sorts of things that he's in. And I'll just give you my three favorites. So the three just off the top, Brinn, and you can introduce yourself and jump in after this. But my three favorite Brinn hobbies and interests. Brinn is a brilliant writer. He's going to retract that as soon as I say it. But I think he's a brilliant writer. He's got a really interesting blog with all sorts of cool random thoughts. Wrestling. I'm just going to leave that. Wrestling. We can interpret that.
I'll pick up on it in a minute.
And the Andy Griffith Show. And this is where, I mean, you have been to the place.
I've been to the mountaintop.
That's right.
I've been to the mountaintop, the birthplace of Andy Griffith, Mount Airy, North Carolina.
That is it. Our family try to get a few episodes of the Andy Griffith Show in a day. And as just part of our daily diet of good things. It's an amazing show. So, Brinn, seriously, welcome. Brinn's one of our elders here and a really, really cool guy, big encourager, behind the scenes, works hard on behalf of our church, and just want to give you guys an opportunity to get to know him a little bit more. So, where do you want to jump in? Any one of those hobbies or interests you want to dive in?
I just can't believe I'm here to jump in on anything. And so give me some guidance. You guys are the professionals. You are professional.
Yeah, we're 12
podcasters.
episodes in, so we're professional.
You're 12 ahead of me. So, all right, you want me to start?
Well, okay. So I got to tell you a story about wrestling because I wish I remember the context of what it was, but it was early on in my time at Fredonia Hill, and there was some meeting. It was before elders, and we were just still doing committees. It was some committee meeting that Brinn was involved in, and that I was too. And the meeting ended, and Brinn was leaving, and his parting words were, "Hey, I got to hurry and get home. Wrestling's on. I don't want my wife to watch it without me," or something to that extent.
It was something like that. And that's a running joke at our house. Is that on Monday nights, my wife likes to watch her wrestling matches, and I need to be there because she doesn't want to watch them by herself. She would dispute that.
Of course.
And I'll need some counseling probably after this is listened to, but. No, it's just something. Wrestling is one of those stupid things that growing up, I grew up in Northeast Arkansas, and that was kind of a wrestling hotbed around the Memphis area. And so we had a live TV show on Saturdays that came out of Memphis, hour and a half long, and then they would have the wrestlers would travel the territory each week. Saturday nights they were in Jonesboro, Arkansas, which is where I lived. And so whatever happened on TV on Saturday, well, Saturday night they show up at the sportatorium there, and it was just great. So I just saw these guys on TV, and here they are, beating the snot out of each other. And it was great. It was great. The first wrestling match I went to, and this is kind of what hooked me, was at the American Legion Auditorium, which was just a broken down 75-year-old building that just had a big enough room to put a ring and a few bleachers around it. The spotlight over the ring was a wash tub hung upside down with a light bulb in the wash tub.
Wow.
And you can't not fall in love with that. And so the first or second match, they start fighting. Some guy gets busted open. There's blood everywhere. And I'm like, I'm coming back. I told my dad, I said, we're coming back every Saturday to see this. This is awesome.
This is when you were a kid.
And I was probably 9 or 10, maybe. And so ever since, judge me if you want to, but it's like a men's soap opera is what I tell people, like a men's soap opera.
That's a good depiction.
Well, I mean, sometimes it's like any soap opera. Sometimes it's better than others, but it's just fun. It's just stupid fun.
That's hilarious. I've never heard the part about you actually going to live matches.
Oh, I've been to wrestling. I've been to the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. I've been to a little place in Blytheville, Arkansas, and Kennett. I've been all over. If there's wrestling, man. Shreveport. I went over there for my son Josh's birthday. We bought tickets to wrestling in Shreveport. And several guys from our church, who I will spare their identity for now.
No.
Yeah, anytime we talk about people being over in Shreveport, you get real nervous.
Well, that
That's
was
right.
before the boats showed up.
Okay,
This
it
was
was
long
good,
enough
wholesome
ago.
fun at that point.
Whatever those boats are for, I've heard.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Name names. We want name. That's hilarious. That's so good. Well, cool. Yeah, I just, what was so great about that is that when he left and he announced that in the meeting, or as the meeting was over, there's no context. So I didn't know Brinn at all. And that's all he said. And it just, I just got so curious about, who is this guy? Is he messing with me?
I was, because I do that stuff for entertainment. I'm an only child. And so I have to invent things that are fun for me. And so whenever I can mess with somebody and get that look like you had on your face that night, that was just, I went home, I've laughed all the way home because it was hilarious to me. And it didn't hurt your feelings or anything.
No.
So I don't feel like I did any damage emotionally to you. But it was just fun because I just, I like messing. I tell my students, I say, I'm going to mess with you, and I mess with them, and it's just entertainment for me.
That's awesome. Do they know about your wrestling? Do you mess with them?
At some point they will, because I only have about so many stories.
Yeah, that's right. You
I kind of have to
recycle
spread them out through the year.
But that's the beauty about getting a new class every year is that you
is.
get to recycle
It
your
is.
stuff. That's good. That's good. Well, okay, so you grew up in Arkansas. How did you make your way to Texas? What does that journey look like?
Well, that journey looked like my wife, Sherry, got offered a job at Stephen F. Austin. And, we'd both lived in Arkansas virtually our whole lives and we'd never been anywhere else. And so we thought, it'd be an adventure. And so, we pulled the Clampetts and loaded up the truck and drove down here in August of '92. So we've been here almost 30 years, and I have loved it. We've just seen parts of the country we wouldn't have seen otherwise, and it's just it was a good move. We've been really happy here. So
We've got a gnat that is.
you do. You're dive bombing me with the
just so you guys know if
with
there's
the
if there's
murder
odd
hornet
pauses,
gnat.
there's a kamikaze gnat that keeps running straight into Brinn's face.
We have all sorts of interesting
there's always
animal-
something.
We've had multiple issues in this building of live creatures causing disturbance. We've had bats and possums in offices, gnats. We've had those little paper bug things.
I chased a mouse across the baptistry one Sunday morning.
That was not a mouse.
It was a very large
You
mouse.
chased the mouse.
Oh yeah,
He did.
It didn't chase you. You chased
Oh
the mouse.
no, I don't.
But it was big
mice.
enough to turn around and chase him.
It could have. Yeah, it was. I used the pool net that's up there the skimmer that we used to clean it out. I caught him in that.
Funny church stories. But were you teaching school? I know that you were a principal for a short stint in Lufkin or a private school. You're a teacher now. Has that always been your profession? What did you?
I was in sales for much of my early adulthood. I worked at the newspaper there in Jonesboro growing up. I worked in the mailroom during junior high, high school, and college. I ended up working in sales for the newspaper there. I worked in radio sales when we moved here. But I just never was really happy. And I just got to thinking one night, I've always done what I thought I wanted to do for a profession. And I never really prayed about what God wanted me to do. And so that happened, along with another significant event in our life. And it just, the way it unraveled is that's what my purpose was, is that I need to be teaching. And so I've been there since it's my 24th year. I skipped a couple of years, started late, looking forward to retirement, but I got a couple more years before I can do that because I started so late. And so, yeah, I taught elementary school. I taught PE. I've done everything in the school except drive a school bus, and there's not enough money on the planet to make me drive a school bus. I'm not doing that. But I've been a custodian. I was a custodian here at the academy while I was going to school, and done that. Been special ed aide. I've been teacher and principal and kind of a superintendent and school board member. I've done everything there is to do in school, and so it's just my fit. But it took me a while to get there.
So was it that's really interesting, especially I guess that occurred. You've been teaching 24 years, so was it just kind of this light bulb moment where you just went, you know what, I need to seek the Lord on this, and as you did, it just kind of was going, oh well, why am I doing what I'm doing?
Yeah, that was a lot of it. It was I was just really unhappy in the position that I was in. I wasn't doing a very good job. I wasn't good at it. I didn't like the situation. I just didn't like the situation. It was just not healthy for me. And a thing came on the TV back when we watched the news every night.
Right after wrestling?
No, it's before wrestling. And that had a teacher alternative certification program that SFA offered. And I started thinking about that. Well, I like working with kids and things like that. At the time, I wondered whether I would be able to work and go to school. That was about the same time that our son Jacob had turned about 6 months old. It was probably not a week or two later we found out he had brain cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so, I had to quit my job. My wife's insurance is what we were using.
Right.
And so I stayed home to take care of him. And, there's, even with my limited skills, there's not a whole lot when he's just, he's still 6 months old. So it's not like we're, doing a whole lot of activity. And so I thought, well, maybe I should look into going back to school. And so I got enrolled at SFA. We had some volunteers from church who would come and watch Jacob when I had class. We made dozens of trips back and forth to Texas Children's there in Houston when he needed treatment or needed blood transfusion or something. And I just was like, Lord, if I get through this, there's no doubt this is what you want me to do.
Wow.
And only by his carrying me through it. I did more than pass. I made all A's.
Wow.
Which was that's an act of God in itself without the other stuff going on. But it just let me know that I had finally found my purpose. And so I really have never looked back. There's always, good years and bad years, but I just kind of dedicate. I look at these kids like, Jacob's gone. He passed away at 13 months. The type of cancer he had was not one that he had even a 1% chance of surviving, so we just knew it was coming. So he passed away, and when I go in the classroom each year, I just kind of think, well, I don't have Jacob anymore, but I got these kids.
Wow.
that I can influence through the circumstances of him going through his illness and stuff. And so I look at things a little bit differently. I look at the discipline of the kids a little bit differently. And it has opened my eyes up to the needs of my students. I feel like I'm a little more aware of some of the needs that they have and can feel them a little more strongly because of that experience. And so I'm not thankful that I lost my son, but I will see him again one day. And that has had just a huge influence on what I do at school.
Wow. Yeah. So it sounds like that even that traumatic event helped shape and form the way that you teach and the way that God uses you
without a doubt. When in the years that I was a principal, I was principal 14 years. I was 7 years in public school in Palestine, and then 7 years in private school in Lufkin. And one of the things that the teachers used to fuss at me about, they'd send a kid to the office, and I don't know what they wanted me to do with him, but I tried to talk to him and encourage him and and build them up that you're better than this and blah, blah, blah. And I would get fussed at by the teacher. Well, you weren't mean enough to him. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be. If you want to be mean, you keep him and do what you think you need to. But you send him up here to me. I'm going to try and use that as a teaching opportunity, try and teach better behavior. And then come to find out that when the teachers found out the experience that I'd been through with Jacob, they were like, well, that explains why you are the way you are with those kids. And so I don't see it as a thing, but I guess others noticed that I treated the kids differently because of that experience I'd been through.
Wow. How long had you guys been in Nacogdoches before you found out that Jacob had cancer?
We had been here a couple of years, maybe.
So
A couple of years. I mean, we
relatively
moved here
new.
when Josh was 4. I think he was in first grade, so it would have been 2 years. Sorry,
That's a
the
gnat
gnat,
again.
gnat attack. No, we were here about 2 years or so.
So still, I mean, relatively new
Yeah.
in the community, and
Yes, knew hard. If we didn't know him from church, we didn't know anybody, or from Sherry's work at SFA. I mean, that's the only place we went to meet people really.
How did you end up here at Fredonia Hill? Was that kind of first
That's a
stop?
great story. I think it is.
Okay.
We went to another Baptist church in town because we thought we'd never had. I've only been a member of 2 churches my whole life, and
I
that's
was gonna
the
say,
one.
so you were a Christian. Church was something that was already part of your life.
Yes, it was.
before you
It was
came.
just. Just like breathing. We went
Yeah.
to church. So we came down here. We'd never shopped for a church before. If you went shopping, is probably not. I see your reaction from using the word shopping. We had never. We had never.
It's
we
not
had
the
never
first time
looked-
we've heard that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have never looked for the Lord's will in finding a church.
Wow, that
Okay.
was good.
And so we thought we'd make the best of the opportunity and visit around some different churches and just get a feel for what they were like. And so we went to one Sunday, and it was what we expected. We came to Fredonia Hill the next Sunday, and we got shown to a Sunday school class taught by Jack Robertson.
Wow.
And so we walk in there and sit down, and about halfway through Jack's lesson, I just looked over at Sherry, and I was like, yeah, this is where we're coming. And she said she knew it too instantly. But we thought, we need to give it one more Sunday just to make sure. So we went back to the original Baptist church we visited, and went to Sunday school. They didn't have Sunday school that day because they had just paid off a debt or something. They were having a celebration. I'm like, well, this doesn't mean anything to us. So we went down and got Josh out of the nursery, came over here, we made it in time for Sunday school to start, and we've been coming here ever since.
Wow. What was it about that lesson or that?
It was just such gifted teaching. I mean, Jack is just such he was an amazing scholar of the Bible, and he was a great communicator. And it was just one of those things, just like, when you first lay your eyes on your future wife, it's like, this is her.
Yeah.
And, we came in and this is it. There's no need in going anywhere else. And so we haven't.
I'm surprised that you didn't use that in the other way to say when our wives laid eyes on us and said this is it.
Well, see, you can say that. I guess I better not.
No, the three of us. You're in trouble for the wrestling. Blake and I did an episode a little while back that talked about how we met our wives, and I'm sure we got ourselves in plenty
For the
of trouble
record,
there.
Ashley sent me a text message today and said that she's been using less creamer in her coffee as of recently.
Good for her.
So she listened to
Good for her.
previous
I need to
episode.
go back and listen
You probably
to
need
that
to
one.
get,
That's right.
Yeah, we commented on the amount of creamer that Ashley uses in her coffee, and apparently it was not
You're
accurate.
a very brave young man.
Yeah, I mean, I said it's totally fine, but
Hey, something that stood out that I'm curious about. You were talking about as you were going back to school. So you were staying home. Sherry was working. It was y'all were her insurance was what was keeping things going. But you mentioned that church members were coming over while you had to go to class.
Fredonia Hill Church. One of the things that I will be a Fredonia Hill Church member until they drag me out of here and plant me 6 feet under, because the Fredonia Hill stood up for us. They didn't know us. People didn't know us.
Yeah, that's what when you said that, it's remarkable.
But they, I guess we knew a few people, but they heard that we had a need, and it would be in the bulletin, that paper thing we used to give out on
I
Sundays.
knew it was going to come.
Yeah, should we mention now that there
they
may
used
or
to have
may
a
not
stack-
be an elder that's a proponent for bulletins?
There used to
He
be a
might
stack
here.
of them. Used to be a stack of them by the Coke machine.
Oh no, there's another one.
But,
oh no.
but people heard we had a need, and they were extremely gracious and unselfish and loving. They just loved on us, and something that we'll never forget. And I don't think we could spend the rest of our lives trying to repay that debt to others and never feel like we did. But we had, people would give us money, which was certainly welcome, and then they would just come and relieve us for a couple hours and watch Jacob, where I could go to school or whatever we need to do. And it was just, the outpouring was unbelievable, just unbelievable.
Wow. And I assume that just kind of happened naturally. I mean, I mean, people had to know what was going on. So you guys are kind of being honest and saying, this is where we're at, this is what's going on, and there was just this natural
and
response.
that was really before social media. So it's not like we were posting stuff every week or an update or anything. It's just people just would ask, and because they were interested, they generally cared, and would just ask, what do you need? What can we do for you? And we tried to be good stewards of that desire in people to help us, and we wouldn't have made it otherwise.
Wow, it's such a powerful story. I mean, we've been really trying to focus a lot on the idea of. I mean, we even did men's study about being a neighbor and what that looks like to just step into people's space, and when they're struggling to get in alongside them and pick things up. And that's amazing to me that's such a huge part of your testimony. And then something that led to you even being able to get yourself the education that you needed to step into what you thought God was calling you to do.
I mean, it's just a miracle that I ever got to the point where I could be certified to teach. It's only because of the help of so many, so many, and just extremely grateful for that.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I want to, and we got a few minutes left, and one of the things that I said this earlier, and I'm being serious. I really do. Your blog is really interesting. It's funny. It's also serious. You have a way of communicating really, really profound points and good points through humor, and I think you're a really great writer. Where does that show up? I mean, you just has it always been something? You mentioned kind of a media background.
Well, I have a radio television degree from Arkansas State University. Go Red Wolves!
I was going to say, there's a little shout out.
But I always was interested in writing, but the way you write in school and get graded and stuff wasn't fun, and so I put that off for a long time. But then professionally, when I was in advertising, then I would have to write ads or commercials or things. I wrote newsletters for one thing or another. I was a secretary for the Deacons for a while, and it just got a little easier, and it got a little more fun when I knew that I wasn't going to get a grade for it. And that was kind of what finally, it's like, I can write a blog and nobody is going to flunk me for it. I'm not going to have to rewrite it. I can write using whatever tense and tone and whatever all that stuff is that goes into writing, and I can do whatever I want. And that was very empowering. And, again, being an only child, it was just kind of like me thinking out loud on some stuff. And between that and I just wanted to leave something behind for my kids and my grandkids, that they can get a little idea of who I was and what I was like, and if the internet's still a thing when they get older.
I think maybe that's why I actually like it so much, is because it really is such a good window into your personality. I think your personality really comes across in your writing. I think that's why I enjoy it so much. But I do want to give it a little plug. Where can people find it? FairlySmart.wordpress.com. There it is. So check it out.
We'll put a link in the description
in the show
of
notes.
this.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I would appreciate both of these folks that are listening to go to it and see if they can find something that interests them.
That's right. We're going to add all of our audience to yours, and so between The 2?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows?
We'll be breaking some records.
We're going to go to
Man.
the top together. That's
All
right.
right.
That's right. Well, that's good. Did you do
Drag-
that as a
drag me
kid?
with you.
Did you write as a kid?
No.
I mean, you mentioned your only
No.
child.
I mean,
and-
being the only child, I was home by myself. I watched TV all day
yeah.
because that's all that there was to. There weren't really any kids on the street to play with, and so I would just either invent some kind of game to play or myself, or watch the 3 channels on the TV at the time.
Yeah.
And so no, it was. But I've watched. I have enough, I guess, other people's writing input, either from TV or I read a lot, and so I get all that. And sometimes thoughts just come to me, and I'll sit down and I'll write for a few minutes, and I'm like, where did that come from? I don't remember thinking that at all, but it comes out, and it's like, okay, let's
that's
use
good.
that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's kind of fun.
That
It's just
sounds
kind of fun.
That sounds a lot like our podcast.
That's how we ended
Sometimes
up
we sit
here.
down and
Yeah.
we go, I don't know. Let's just go for it. So anyway, man, that's really cool. I just think that captures so much of y'all's journey, and particularly here at Fredonia Hill. It's been really cool getting to know you and all the peeling back these layers of wrestling and Andy Griffith and writing.
Well, see, we haven't even talked about Andy.
We haven't even talked about Andy. Okay, so you did go. Let's close.
Well, I guess we did talk a little bit about
we
Andy.
need to talk about Andy.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have some time for it.
Because Brinn asked me a question. I think that you posed this to me. We were having a meeting, and this wasn't a meeting. This would have been a fellowship. So in church world, a meeting is where you do the business, and fellowship is where you hang out, right? So we were having a fellowship where we ate, and you asked me. We were talking about Andy Griffith. You asked me what was my favorite episode. And I think that's an incredibly difficult question because of the many layers of the Andy Griffith Show.
Very many good episodes.
Because there are so many great, deep lessons on parenting and community life, and I mean, there's depth to it.
Right.
People that know the show know that. It's also hilarious. There are these wonderful. Don Knotts is just hilarious.
Well, so here's the thing. I've been watching him since they originally came out. That's how old I am.
And they never
from the middle
get-
60s.
Yeah.
I've been watching them every day nearly since then.
So I'm going to throw that back on you.
Okay.
If there's probably the sad reality out there, Blake, that there are people that are listening
Have no idea.
who have no idea what we're talking about, who've never seen the show. And so to your benefit, if you've got Amazon Prime, I know it's on there. If not, we will do what we can. You can borrow DVDs if you even have that, but we'll get you introduced. Now, but if somebody says, I've never seen an episode, so 2 questions. First of all, if they've never seen an episode, where would you start somebody out on the Andy Griffith Show?
Wow. Wow. I've never even thought about it that way. I would say season 2. Season 1
Yes.
is where Andy's trying to be the funny guy,
Yes.
Yeah.
and Don Knotts is kind of the straight guy. So I think season 2, where they switch roles,
Yes.
is a good place to start,
Yes.
and just pick an episode.
Any episode in
Anytime,
season 2.
any of the black and white episodes from season 2 forward.
Yeah. Now, are you cut it off at black and white? Once it
Yes.
goes color, it's over?
Well, I wouldn't say it's over, but it's easy for me to find something else.
Yeah. The truest essence of what the show was kind of goes
Yeah,
away.
the heyday
Right.
was right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, now so so anywhere in season 2, I for the record, and I'm not the expert that Brinn is, I totally agree with that. Season 1 it's just odd. Andy is the funny guy. He's
a little
really
too
goofy.
much of a hick,
He's
you know?
too much of a hick. It's not great. But anyway, season 2 gets going good, and that's where they really hit a rhythm. But what is your favorite episode and why?
My favorite, I have 2. One of them is the Christmas episode, because they only did one Christmas episode throughout the whole series, and so they sang "Silent Night," which one of the things that draws me to Andy Griffith's show is the fact that he's not afraid to quote the Bible or to use Christian references in that. So the Christmas episode is one. The other one is Opie the Birdman.
Oh yes, so good.
Because I think the greatest line in the whole series is when Opie lets Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod out of the cage.
That's right.
And he says, "Gee, Paul, the cage sure looks empty." And Andy says, "But don't the trees seem nice and full?"
Yes.
And I thought, man, that is the line right
That's
there.
the line. That's the line. And it's this brilliant moment of parent. I mean, Andy's brilliant in that in that moment, in that whole episode.
Yep.
So, okay, little preacher quiz, and then we'll finish this. Andy makes a comment on, you remember that, you know, they're not afraid to talk about church and Bible and everything. And Andy makes a comment about the preacher's lessons lately. How does he, what am I trying to say? What is the quality? What does he say about the preacher's sermons? You know this?
Something to the effect of being dry as dirt.
Dry as dust. He calls the preacher's sermons dry as dust.
Okay.
That's and the preacher catches him. It gets printed. Remember,
Well, that's because it's in Opie's newspaper.
Opie prints it in the newspaper, and the preacher reads it, and then Andy has Sunday school duty for the next quarter or whatever. So that's awesome. Brinn, cannot thank you enough for being here with us and chatting. I just love people being able to get to know you a little bit more, and so thanks for spending the time. If you've got anybody that you want us to chat with or any questions that you want to send in, don't hesitate to reach out to us, or just any comments about the show. We love to hear your feedback. You can do that at
stc@fredoniahill.org.
That's right. Send us an email or just pull us aside.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of
You
comments.
can call us.
I just walk down the street and people say, "Hey."
That's right. Blake's cell phone number is. Oh no.
Most
So
people have it.
anyway, but thanks for listening, and we will see you next time. Adios.
Bye.